Yo. What's good, YouTube, man? It's your boy Zeke full time. I know it's been a minute, man. I know I've been gone for a minute. Look, I'm back with a special treat. We got a sneak peek of what Pokemon Scarlet and Violet's gonna look like. Let's get to it, gang.
The Pokemon Company International
Foes up.
recently invited me to play an early part of Pokemon Scarlet and Pokemon Violet. And within that, I got to experience much of what there is in the Paldea region, including finding the world's first shiny Pokemon in Pokemon Scarlet and Violet. So, here are my impressions of
All
Pokemon
aboard the
Scarlet
hype train, gang.
So
All aboard the hype
sit
train.
down, relax, and listen to everything. Pokemon Scarlet and Violet are the much anticipated 9th generation of Pokemon games, and following from a massive departure from the norm that was Pokemon Legends Arceus, people have been wondering if these games will be more akin to Pokemon Sword and Shield or the new style of gameplay from Pokemon Legends Arceus. We were given access to over an hour of gameplay, and we can tentatively answer that question. It is an amalgam of both and is showing signs of being the
I don't know
most
how I feel
ambitious
about the
Pokemon title
terraforming.
yet. We were let loose
That's
in
something
the
I
region
won't
of
do.
Paldea in the
That
game
looks so
shortly
smooth
after
so
the
far.
start.
No doubt.
All three paths for the Gym Challenge of Victory Road, facing Team Star in Starfall Street or facing the Titans in the Path of Legends, were made available to us, and we were told we could do whatever we want, take whichever path that we want. This feels like
That's
a sign
dope.
of how the game truly is. It is a vastly open landscape. As all the paths were available to us, they did get flagged on the map, so you can easily go to whatever goal you desired at the pace in which you desire. This really gives players the choice of where to go rather than holding our hand and us being the passengers on the journey. That said, the characters do sometimes try to suggest that you go and do particular things, such as check on other characters to lead you to the other story points as you go through certain stories. For example, Nimona suggested that we check on Arven after we defeated the gym. Pokemon has been dabbling with open areas ever since 2016's Pokemon Sun and Moon, with the Pony Plains in Pony Island showing a small look at how the future may be. It then grew with the wild area in Sword and Shield, then the Isle of Armor, the Crown Tundra, and finally the Hisui region's 5 open areas in Pokemon Legends Arceus. The Paldea region really appears to be a final step into creating a big open world, and it really feels like it has hit the mark. We were only allowed in a small corner of Paldea, and that area itself was big. So often I found myself distracted from the main task just to see what was around the corner, up the cliffs,
But that's
around the
how
ridge.
being open world
And I
games,
almost
man.
let the time that had
You
been
want to
given
venture
to
the
run
world,
out
right?
by the
You do
edge of the
the
story path.
main
It
objective,
was
you
such
dig?
fun exploring and finding them.
Like, I used to play Genshin Impact. I used to play Genshin Impact. I don't know why I stopped. Open world, I was all around the world trying to explore rather than do missions, you feel me?
Pokemon. That said, I eventually did take the Victory Road path and did the gym test of finding some flora throughout the town
I
of
have to get
Arceus.
back on that.
When that was done, I started the battle against Brasius and went through the battle much in the way you would in prior games, but there's definitely more of a cinematic flair going into the battle, with small cutscenes showing more personality for the gym leaders than we saw in Pokemon Sword and Shield. Navigating the world works well.
That
Unlike
boy ain't
Sword and
getting no
Shield and Legends
sleep.
Arceus, you have a mini-map in the bottom right-hand corner to help you keep your location know where you're going, and you can set up waypoints to make sure you're on the right path. Riding on Coridon is a lot of fun and definitely sped up traversal, and it automatically shifted to climbing when I needed it, and I could glide at any.
Like, imagine a Pokemon game, open world like Elden Ring, a game like that. That'd be crazy.
time.
So crazy.
Pokemon are found sprawled around the field. You no longer have to go for specific tall grass for random encounters, and as far as we can tell, random encounters no longer exist in the game.
Whopper
Instead,
slime.
this is more akin to the Legends Arceus game, where they can be just about anywhere. They're not always just standing around waiting for you either, but you can see them sleeping or just going about their day. At one point, I was gliding over the field on Coridon and looked down and I saw two Pokemon racing underneath me. And at one point, I walked across the field and saw two deerlings sleeping amongst the grass while some other Pokemon flying behind them. Sometimes you will also see a group of 4 or 5 of the species of Pokemon together, sometimes with one of the evolutions in the middle. There is a catch to this though, as the wild Pokemon's interactivity is closer to Pokemon Sword and Shield than Pokemon Legends Arceus. You won't be running away from a Pokemon's attacks here to protect yourself, but at worst they will run at you to start the encounter. And that is how wild encounters primarily run. Much like in Pokemon Sword and Shield, if you walk into a Pokemon in the overworld, you'll start the wild encounter. But unlike Sword and Shield, you will not go to a random
It's actually
back
pretty
drop.
dope. You can
Instead,
still
the world
Pokemon
is
out and they
seamless,
can
and
battle
you
by
will even see the wild
themselves.
Pokemon and even other trainers or other player characters around in the background as you battle. And like in Pokemon Legends Arceus, you can even move the camera around at will, but unlike Legends, you cannot move your trainer character. There is also another way to start a battle. If you're close enough to a Pokemon, you can aim with the ZL button and throw a Pokeball to get your lead Pokemon out to start a battle. Targeting will show you the name of the Pokemon as well as its level, and if you can sneak up on it, especially by crouching, and catch it unaware, there will be a small boost at the start of a battle. But I was never able to activate that. We also saw a few wild Terra Pokemon. As has already been announced, these Pokemon will automatically terrestrialize in battle against you and offer a challenge. In addition to that, defeating them will earn you LP, which can be used for both the TM machine and even just purchasing items in Pokemon centers throughout Paldea. They have a special aura around them and you can see them from far away, so you can definitely tell when you're going into a wild Terra battle. Comparison would be more akin to the alpha Pokemon that you find in Legends Arceus roaming around the Hisui region. Trainers also fill out the overworld of Paldea, but unlike past games, you have to talk to them in order to start the battle. They will no longer spot you and force the battle to happen, which means if you do so wish, you can just basically skip every stage in the Paldea
can't get behind it. It's
kind of
corny
bubbles
looking.
over their head, inviting you to battle as you approach.
Look at the chandelier on his head.
If there is a trainer ready for a battle. Items will also fill out the overworld and you can see them from far away with various auras shooting up into the sky. You'll have a red aura for standard items and a golden aura for TMs. There are also some hidden items. This helps the overworld feel more densely packed, so you won't go far without seeing something. Another change to the prior traditional main series Pokemon titles, but following on from Legends Arceus, is that the time of day and weather are no longer tied to a real-time clock. Instead, Pokemon Scarlet and Violet has its own day/night cycle, where there is also another randomised feature in this game taking more inspiration from Legends Arceus than the date-based weather of Sword and Shield. For example, whilst I was playing, as I was approaching Artisan, shortly after it became night, a rainstorm hit, and unlike Pokemon Sword and Shield, the player character was constantly reacting to it. Whilst running through the time, the character was trying to shield themselves and their eyes from the rain so they could still see while running, which is a really nice small touch, which didn't exist in the prior Pokemon games. One of the things that the Pokemon community is constantly asking about is shiny Pokemon, and it is one which we were so lucky to confirm. Shiny Pokemon are of course back in this game, and much to our surprise, whilst we were playing through, we actually managed to get the world's first shiny Pokemon in Scarlet and Violet outside of Game Freak and the Pokemon Company. As I was climbing up a cliffside, I got to the top, and amongst all the Pokemon, I found a shiny Skidoo. That's right, continuing from Pokemon Let's Go and Pokemon Legends Arceus, shiny Pokemon are fully visible on the overworld, which is an improvement over Pokemon Sword and Shield where you wouldn't know until you started a battle. We aren't quite sure if there was a special cue, visual or otherwise, due to how we approached the shiny Pokemon, but it was really something to climb up there and find the shiny Skidoo. Unfortunately, I can't keep it, which sucks, but it's getting the first full-on shiny Pokemon in the game is an experience I will never, ever forget. Battle-wise, Pokemon Scarlet and Violet definitely align more with Pokemon Sword and Shield. Gone is Legends Arceus' more simplified battle system with the agile and the strong styles of moves, and battles have returned to the more complex and full battle system of the previous main series titles. So your abilities and hold items and everything make a return, and despite that, battles are feeling much snappier and quicker than in Sword and Shield. Now, the animations are quicker and they feel, I don't want to say less cinematic, but the animations don't require your attention as much. Terrestrialization certainly brings a new element to the battle and can give you a nice boost or type change to make things more suited to you. I didn't get to try it out too much in a deep way, but there's definitely a damage boost if you're terrestrializing to the same type you already were. And needing to recharge the Terra Orb definitely feels like a good way to keep the game balanced so you're not constantly pressing the win button like you were with Z moves in Pokemon Sun and Moon. However, some changes from Pokemon Legends Arceus have made it through. While you learn moves in a similar way to Sword and Shield, where if your Pokemon hits the level, it asks you if you want to learn the move, Scarlet and Violet does continue Legends Arceus' method of relearning and forgetting moves. You can just do it from the menu at any time. You can also pull Pokemon out of your boxes at any time, just like in every game since Let's Go Pikachu and Pokemon Let's Go Eevee. There's also a new feature where you can select the Pokemon and have it heal automatically using items from your bag to heal as required, which streamlines the process. The menus themselves have followed the streamlined process the game itself has. Now, when you look at the menu with the X button, on the left you'll see your party and you'll be able to check their status, heal them and alter their moves on the fly, whilst on the right you'll get to have the bag, settings, save, and the Poke Portal, which is the
Can I make my character look a real black man?
And have a lovely style and go for a more simplistic look, much like Pokemon Sword and Shield. The Pokemon Let's Go feature is also a fun thing to try out. If you send your Pokemon out into the overworld by throwing the Pokeball with the ZR button, it will follow you around, but you can press the button again to send it off in certain directions. This will let it get items for you, but it will also have quick battles against other Pokemon. These are very quick and often just one-hit actions, providing you with both experience and the items that the species of wild Pokemon will drop. These items have previously been revealed to be used for crafting TMs at the TM machine at Pokemon Center, so being able to do this helps make it feel more streamlined for a potential grind. So you can just send your Pokemon
bump
out and
these
get
friendly
experience
Pokemon.
rather than having to go
The
through the battles
Pokemon company
very
needs to make
slowly.
a
By
vicious
refusing
looking
to target the
Pokemon. That's
Pokemon
what
at
I
other
need.
Pokemon, and it's not as automatic as it could possibly be, it definitely has a lot of potential, especially as it's necessary in the
Look
Starfall
at Belly
Street
Boat
story
for real,
path.
and look
Another
at
small
Wiglet.
change is in regards to the trainer
Mr.
customization.
Vicious Man.
In Pokemon Scarlet and Violet, you have the ability to change much about your character's appearance, except for the hair, at any
And this
time
is
during
why
the adventure.
Tyrant has my favorite
Change the outfits,
Pokemon.
eye shape, and more without having to go
It's
to the
definitely
Pokemon Center or a
favorite because it
boutique.
looks
However, there's
vicious.
a massive amount of customization options that we saw, with boutiques allowing you to buy more clothes and hairdressers to change the hair. This time, however, there are no restrictions. All players can have all hairstyles or wear whichever clothes they want, regardless of the looks they started with at the beginning of the game. Every trainer has access to everything. You can also use emotes at any time through the D-pads whilst on the overworld. This can be done for pictures, because you can take selfies with you and your Pokemon, or you and other players, and this is especially useful when you go into multiplayer and bring other players in through the Union Circle. Following the single player portion of the demo, we were given a chance to test out the multiplayer features of the game, and multiplayer truly is a key aspect of Pokemon Scarlet and Violet, and frankly it felt amazing. It is an evolution of what we saw in Pokemon Sword and Shield through the Wild Area, Crown Tundra and Isle of Armor, where you can see the other players through your game. Now this can be done with only up to 4 players at once, but it's such a nice thing to see because you can go on the adventure with your friends. And you can also organise battles, trades and raids far more easier than the usual way, and notifications will come up on top if players in the same Union Circle are doing them. An excellent touch was being able to see what your friends were doing even if you were inside battle and they can see you. It's this sort of
because it's making a giant Italian.
Truly wanted. All other multiplayer modes are still present. You can still do link trades, battles, surprise trades, plus the already announced Battle Stadium and even Mystery Gift, all without being in the same Union Circle. Just like Pokemon Sword and Shield, this uses link codes, so each player has to put in the same link code in order to connect to each other.
Whoa.
Terra Raid battles feel like a response to the feedback that they
Just
received
ham
from
and
Pokemon Sword
pickle?
and Shield's Max Raid battles. These are faster, but are done in a way with the battle system in general. It's still turn-based, but you don't need to wait for other players to make their move in order to
Who's
do your
smoking
next
that?
one.
That's straight
However,
bread.
there's still a bit of wait as it's not action-focused. Unlike Max Raid battles, there's also no shields to slow the battle down, but there was an element partway through the battle which adds an extra bit of protection. This protection can be done far more easier with moves from terrestrialized Pokemon. All Pokemon can terrestrialize in these raid battles, but in order to access it, you need to have multiple moves hit the opposing Pokemon first. This works as a way to keep the battles balanced. If all players are knocked out at the same time, or the time limit runs out, you will lose the battle. It may have been because this was a different battle system at first, but we actually lost our first raid battle in testing against a 4-star Cryogonal. This is definitely an exciting notion, as Max Raid battles lost their challenge fairly early on in Sword and Shield's life. All in all, on first play, Pokemon Scarlet and Violet feels like it has so much potential to be a huge step forward in the franchise. There are so many surprises that have yet to be revealed, and if the potential holds throughout the game, Pokemon may have actually reached its new peak. We are so desperate to play more, to see what else there is in Paldea, and if the full game continues on what the small snippet we have played shows, then it is truly going to be an exciting time for Pokemon fans. Roll on November 18th. And I'd like to thank you all very much
It's
for
less
watching
than a
this
month,
preview.
gang.
And if you have liked this video, press the like button, share with your friends, and if you
Less than a month, gang. All aboard the hype train, you dig? All aboard the hype train, man. Hey, we got a preview. Less than a month. This your boy Zeke Full Time, man. Zeke the Freak. And we gone. Hey, call me Mr. Anime from here on out, by the way. Call me Mr. Anime from here on out, by the way. You see it. Come on, man. You see it. Stop playing. Let me see how my light looking. That's straight, but and we gone.